Welcome to Nitpicking Nerds, and it's time for me to disagree with him.
We're talking about 13 cards we disagree on.
I'm the greatest host ever, Joe Cherries.
No, I'm the greatest host ever, BZ, and that makes us the greatest channel ever, Nitpicking Nerds. We're bringing you daily Commander content, whether we agree or disagree. You should go support us, because the best way to do that is patreon.com. Click the link we set up for you in the description. It's all laid out for you. You just got 3 or 4 clicks. Boom, you're supporting the nerds.
Normally I agree with you, but today I disagree. The best way to support us is tcgplayer.com. Affiliate link. You click that link, buy all the magic cards you're going to buy anyway. Guess what? You're supporting the nerds. And if you want to do that, but get Dragon Shields, the greatest sleeves in the multiverse, you use the Dragon Shield EU or US link. Boom. Supporting the nerds.
What are we doing today?
We're going to go over cards that we have different opinions on. That one of us likes the card more than the other, and we're going to discuss why that is and just, have a lively debate.
Yeah, I think a fun little thing, we'll both give our piece on the card, and then in the description, you can write little number 1 through 13, and then you can pick who you agree with, or maybe you disagree with us both. So some of these cards, Joe's higher on than me, and some of them I'm higher on than Joe. We're going to start with one that I'm a little bit higher on. It's Lotus Petal. This one's real simple. 0 mana artifact, tap, sack, add 1 mana of any color. This is the card disadvantage at its finest, but also mana advantage. Fast mana, it's like the lower tier of fast mana. And I am looking for any excuse to play Lotus Petal, really. As soon as I have one excuse, it's in. If my commander draws cards, if I have plenty of ways to turn the extra mana into a turn sooner, or if my commander is like 2 mana, like a Skullbriar, I'm in. I love Lotus Petal.
Yeah, I think you really need specific decks to play this. I almost never want to touch it. The card disadvantage is a lot, and the mana gained is not enough. Now, sometimes I might play a Dark Ritual, but I feel like only going up 1 mana is just not quite enough to be worth a whole card.
I don't think it's not auto-include, but I think as soon as you have an excuse, it should go in. At least for me. It goes into my deck.
I just think you need more excuses. I think you need 3 or 4 excuses to put in your deck, and then this card becomes functional.
Like, my deck has a lot of onboard card draw, or my commander draws 3 cards when it enters, or my commander's 2 mana and I need to hit this a whole turn sooner. Like, that's all the excuses I need.
Yeah, and that's fair. Next, we have Cultivate, Kodama's Reach. Now, for me, these cards, these aren't the auto includes or the high playability that we see on EDH I don't think they're there. But I think these cards do have certain homes. They belong in decks that don't want to really necessarily have the mana dorks and don't care about ramping with creatures. And I think that is a decent number of decks. Also, if your commander costs 5-6 mana, this can guarantee you hit the land drops straight up to it, which I like also.
So Joe's not a huge fan, and for me, I'm lower than that. I don't know what would have to happen for me to play these cards. I really just never put them in a deck. To me, I kind of look at them and I view them as cards I'm just not going to play. I don't think the power is through the roof or crazy or anything. I'm not missing out on power. I just find that I don't ever need it. I mean, when I'm ramping, the first 3 I go to, Nature's Lore, 3 visits, Skyshroud Claim, so then Cultivate and Kodama's Reach are already, farther down. And if I really need the non-creature ramp, I'm going to go to Rampant Growth and Farseek next. I'd rather have it now, a turn sooner, than get my bonus land.
So I think these are more powerful than you think they are. And also, I think that you just kind of, when you don't want the creature ramp, and there are the decks that don't really care about the mana dorks. Yeah, the mana dorks are good, but a lot of decks don't necessarily need mana dorks or want to be more resilient to board wise by getting lands into play. And Cultivate and Kodama's Reach both do that. And when you listed those 5 that you would play, decks want between 7 and 10 ramp spells, and this is falling near the end of those 7 and 10 ramp spells, but I think it's still playable in that range.
I agree with that it falls to the 7, it falls past maybe the first 7, and I think for me, I just don't play them then. Yeah, but you might go lower.
I think you might cut. Maybe you go too low on ramp in those decks, and that might be where we differ.
Maybe, or I just find some of the other creatures versions I also like better.
That's fair.
So I might go to them, even if I don't Wood Elves. I would probably rather play that.
Okay. Up next is Generous Gift and Beast Within. And I know I didn't read Kodama's Reach and Cultivate because I didn't care. Everyone knows what they do. You destroy target permanent, its owner gets a 3/3. I think these are actual, factual, in my book, auto-includes. I'm putting them in every white deck, every green deck I build. Green-white deck, I have both of these in every single time. The downside of a 3/3 is next to nothing. And because of that, this is where 3-mana removal. This is where I want my 3-mana removal. I'm not saying 3-mana removal is the best or like the greatest of all time, but when you can hit anything, yeah, I'm not. There's just no world where I don't play these cards. Chaos Warp actually fits in the same category where it's like I'm just never not playing those 3 cards because I think the downside is low enough and that you can hit everything that I'm in.
Yeah, so I'm not to the point of staple. They're staples. I'm not to the point of auto include. I think they're really good. I play them a lot of the time. I just don't auto play them. I think there's so much efficient removal now that you don't always need a Generous Gift or Beast Within. I think if you've got enough premium stuff, like if you've got your Swords to Plowshares and like Deadly Rollick or something, let's say for creature removal, and then you got like Heliod's Intervention and Force of Vigor for artifact enchantment removal, I don't necessarily need, in a lot of cases, the Generous Gift to go in there when I already have premium ways of taking everything out. I don't, like when you have all the premium stuff, versatility gets a little bit worse because I have artifact enchantment, I have the best creature stuff. So I don't always include them, basically.
That's where I disagree. I think no matter what, even with all of those great efficiency spells, that the versatility is so good, it is worth it every time. That's definitely where we differ.
Right. So I'll take, let's say 4 hyper efficient 1 or 0 mana removals over a Generous Gift. Like, I just won't include Generous Gift. I'd rather play those 4.
See, I'd play those 4 and then a Generous Gift. That's
right.
That's where I'm at. Because Generous Gift was probably the Generous Gift and Swords were the first 2 I put in the deck.
Yeah, they're versatile, but I don't think they're that efficient.
Oh man, the versatility, it says destroy target permanent. They get nothing basically. The 3/3 is so nothing.
I know that the effect is good. I'm just hung up on the 3 mana.
I can't. I'll spend 3 mana to answer anything and give them a freaking elephant. It's just an elephant. It's nothing.
All right. It's just an elephant. All right. Number 4, this is one of my favorite cards ever. It's Field of the Dead. We're both pretty high on it. It's a really good Magic card. Except, I think that this isn't even in gameplay. In the deck building process, it's hard for me to not include it in a lot of decks because I just think it's so free to build and tweak a tiny little bit, even not compromising on like tapped or untapped lands, to just put Field of Dead in your deck if you need blockers, if you need zombies, if you need tokens, if you need creatures, if you need landfall triggers. It just goes in, I just think, upwards of half of decks for me.
No, see, I think you're higher on it than that.
It might be. I'm trying to be conservative. I'm like, I think I have it in more than half of my decks.
You put it in like 90% of decks, and that's where I'm not. I think you really need a reason to play this card. I think once you hit 3 colors, all you need is the little reason. 3 colors, you can put it. You don't need to put it in land slot. You can put it into a spell slot at that point, and it's not going to hurt your mana too much. 3 colors, you can easily do it because there's so many dual lands. 4, 5 colors, same thing. Just make sure you put it in a spell slot instead of taking up a land slot. But as we go down in 2 and 1 color, it does have to negatively impact your mana base at that point because there's not as many dual lands. I mean, you have to make sure you have the snow lands. Make sure you have you have a lot of tap lands in your mono white Oketra deck to get these zombies. And
there's a few. There's not that many.
There's like 4 that you would never normally play. Honestly.
But there's a couple, like, I don't have, that deck isn't as blinged out as it could be. There's a couple white untapped lands that could just go in. Like, I don't have Iganjo Castle in there, but I could just put it in. That I should.
Yeah, maybe you're completely right about that. I just think that you don't want to hurt your mana base too bad, especially in 1 color, in 2 color decks, where you don't have a ton of duels. You only have, 6 Rakdos duels in your deck, and it's like, well, how many basics can I play?
There's so many Rakdos duels.
Yeah.
There's infinite Rakdos duels. Even in enemy color 2 pairs, I'm in. As you just need, any reason. Oh, I could use a couple extra blockers. Oh, I could use a couple extra zombies. I could use a landfall trigger. I'm going to hit 10 lands in a game. When you stop wanting it, it's like, I'm trying to end the game by turn 4, and then it's like, all right, well, tap land isn't going to do anything for you. So then it gets cut. But for, these mid-powers, I'm so in for Field. So in.
Yeah. I think you're misrepresenting your side a little bit because I think you don't need a reason. Your reason is this is value in the land slot.
Well, it's value in the land slot, but most of my decks have a thing to do with it. Sacrifice extra creatures, get triggers, put, overrun, some kind of thing.
Well, see, here's what I think you can do that with any deck.
That's why I play it in every deck.
That's what I'm saying. Is
they all work with
you
it.
You can come up with a reason. You build a deck, and then you could just make a reason after that. It's this deck has over, like, my green-red deck. I don't feel that would be very good in that deck.
That'd be so good.
But afterwards, you just go, oh, well, it has overrun effects in it, so it's great. It's like, yeah,
I put it in your deck.
I know you would, and that's so good. And that's exactly where we disagree. Because
your Tybalt deck. Oh, you need some defenders for Tybalt. Put Field of Dead in. It's free defenders.
I mean, I actually have it in the Tybalt deck. I do not have it in the green-red deck because it doesn't belong in that deck at all. It doesn't fit that theme.
It just goes everywhere.
That's what I'm saying. It does not fit everywhere.
It goes in, I think 90% might be right now.
No.
Now I'm like, every deck.
I know, because and that's exactly it. I don't think your mana base can afford to take the hits.
Tap land isn't the end of the world.
It
Two
isn't.
colors, you have infinite fixing. Infinite. I haven't even talked about fetches.
Again, love Field of Dead. Here's the difference. Here's the real difference, because BC's so misrepresenting his side.
It's so good.
BC doesn't need a reason to put in this deck. I need a reason.
No. The reasons are so plentiful, it's hard to not put it in.
No,
it just works with everything. The downside is like nothing. What is the downside? The downside is in deck building, and you trade a few tap lands sometimes. It's so good.
The VC, he just builds a deck, puts Field of Dead on, and then makes up the reason afterward.
No, it makes every deck better.
I gotta move on.
So high on this card.
I know you are. You're way
it's quite
too
the drug. No, let's let the fans decide.
Next one is a card I'm not super high on, and I want to specify this is 100% you're not in white. So once you're not in white, Heroic Intervention. This says your permanents get hexproof and indestructible. Now this card's not bonkers. It's not broken. But green decks, a lot of green decks, especially non-white ones, tend to be susceptible to board wipes because you like to get on board. You love to play out your creatures, and like an austere command can come along. All of a sudden, you're really behind. You didn't draw your Beast Whisperers. You didn't draw your cards. And like green decks tend to build on themselves. So it's like you get the Beast Whisperer out, you play another card, and it's like if you don't get one of those chains going, you come out of cards quickly. I like having Heroic Intervention so that you can protect your board from that. Now, obviously, if you're in white, you have Teferi's Protection, you have Eerie Interlude, there's the Cosmic Intervention, Flawless Maneuver. There's a million ones that I'm playing before this. I'm never touching this. But I think Heroic Intervention in green decks without white is great.
Yeah, I think it's good. It's fine. It's not a card like if it's in a precon, we won't cut it. But it's good in those lower budget decks. I think it's not a card I go to too much. Even if I'm looking at like a heavy board state deck where everything is on board, I'm playing like elves maybe, and I've just got creatures and I'm drawing cards. I just don't want to take away from some of the main strategy. I'm like, all right, this is a purely defensive card. So part of that like gets to me where I won't include it as much as you, where I just look at this 100% defense when I'm trying to go off and I don't care about a board wipe or I have enough advantage to recover from one anyway. I don't want to bother holding it up. I'll just take my lumps and then rebuild. Especially since if you're diversifying with like maybe a Planeswalker and like a Great Henge, creature board wipe won't set you back to the complete Stone Age.
Yeah, and it is possible. I just think Heroic Intervention, you just need it for your. I think Stompy type strategies and elf. Like when you are focusing and you got all the ramping elves and you're getting into your big stuff, that's when you can fall really behind because you put your ramp, you're putting your eggs in one basket. They're all in creatures.
See, it depends. I might not. I'd have to like look at an elf deck, but I think I might not bother with it.
Yeah, see, I think it's just like it's so easy to want to put this in because I just like when your ramp is all there, it's like, all right, I'm gonna ramp into these big things. Then you play a couple of the big things and you get wiped and it's like a 4-for-1 and you're left with like 3 cards in hand. It can just be so devastating.
It can be rough, but I'm also looking at the times where you just wish it was a thing. You're like, all right, I'm going off here. It's turn 5. I got quite an early start. Okay, Heroic Intervention in my hand.
I like having it's one card. It's one card in your deck, and like if there's
slippery slope.
Well, the difference is it's true because green doesn't have a lot of this effect.
Yeah,
and it is unique in green. Like we said, in white you don't need this card in any world. There's 10 times better. But green, I feel like, is the color besides white that needs it the most because you're so on board.
You know what? Actually, another thing that I forgot about this card that made me not like it as much is it doesn't stop all the board wipes. Maybe
true.
If it was like your guys phase out, I'd be more in. But it's this defensive card that like doesn't stop our 3 favorite board wipes basically. So I'm like, oh man, I could hold this up, build out, and then still get punished for playing it.
Yeah,
with the best board wipes, not like some of them, just the best ones.
All right, so I'm on mono green decks that are really onto the board. I'm in for this card. BZ,
I'm just on sometimes.
Almost never.
Yeah, sometimes, maybe rarely, but it's not an unplayable card.
Another card that BZ's not going to play very often. Mirari's Wake. 2 green-white. This is
3 green-white.
3 green-white. I can read cards. 3 green-white for an enchantment. +1/+1 to all your creatures and your lands tap for double mana. I think this card is pretty good. It is the best of these effects. And you really want big mana. And I think the key to this is making sure your deck is going to use all that mana. But I think if you can, and you can slam this on a turn 4 and potentially untap with it, then this is a really strong card. And is it the best card in the world? No. But I think it's very good, and it definitely has a decent number of homes.
Yeah, I agree. It's probably the best of these effects, unless we're missing something. But everything 6 and 7 and up, I think we've looked at, and I'm not playing those. But I think this one's the best one. So we made the discussion about this one. I think the +1/+1 is pretty close to flavor text. It's not a reason to play this over anything else. The mana doubler for 5 is nice. But when I think about this, I think about slamming it on turn 4, 5, 6. Then you wait and you kind of invest. You're like, all right, I'm charging up to a big turn. I wasted my whole turn. Put it into this. It reminds me of like Crewfix, where you go, okay, tap out, float my mana, it stays. Next turn I'm going to use double, but it's the same. Once you untap with Mario's Wake, you haven't gotten anything. You're now equal, with maybe up a mana. Then next turn you're going to be up like 5 or 6 mana, and I think that's pretty good. But I really want to go another turn, and then I can start taking over the game. I just don't think. I think the speed of it is pretty slow. That I'm just not a huge fan.
See, I think where I disagree with you on this card is that we get after 1 untap, it's good enough. Honestly, because the mana you get it's like loading the mana into your next turn.
Wait, so you're good with the charge?
Yeah, I'm good.
You're fine moving 5 mana over the next turn.
I think moving 5 mana over to just the next turn. Once you get to cast like 10 mana, probably 12 mana, because you're probably playing another land worth of spells. I just think that's good enough. I think that's there, and you're going to be able to get enough advantage from this Mirari's Wake that it'll be worth its mana.
I mean, it is like, I'm not directly comparing it to like Horizon Stone, because Horizon Stone is put 5 mana into this, it goes away. Then next turn you charge up mana. Then next turn you place it. Like, that card is poop. But this is like you get an extra turn of charge. I guess I'm just not a fan of the charge turn.
Yeah, I think this speaks so much to how we play differently.
A lot can go wrong.
A lot can go wrong, but you're all about spinning the wheels and doing things quickly and efficiently. And I like taking the big chances because I think these big chances often pay off in a big way.
I will say this is good in the late game.
Yes,
like at turn 10, this is a pretty sweet one.
Yeah, it's just like Nyx Plumation.
It costs 0.
When you cast Nyx Plumation,
well, that card is nuts.
On turn 10, it's insane. Yeah, Nyx Plumation. I mean,
that card's insane.
Well, it might even be worse than Mirari's Wake. Actually,
I don't know.
It's tough.
I view that card as more playable because it's just such a silly amount. Like 3 times, it just starts to get like, ridiculous.
Yeah, 3 times versus 2 times is a lot more. What do we have next? This is one you're high.
All right, this is one I just threw in just because I love it in Modern, and I was like, whatever, I'll test it out. And I actually kind of like it, and Joe hates it. It's Fulminator Mage. It's 1 Rakdos Hybrid for a 2/2, and all it does is sacrifice to destroy a non-basic land. I put this in my Queen Marchesa deck. I'm like, all right, politics, attacking, blocking. Maybe I can deter some attackers. That's kind of exactly what it did. I was like, all right, first person to mess with me gets Stone Rained. And there's a couple ways in the deck. There was like Sun Titan, Savine's Reclamation, maybe a couple other reanimate effects. I can get this back to do it again for some value. I'm like, I ended up liking this. So I don't know. It looks terrible. It looks real bad. I think you need some synergy, but I think this is a playable commander card.
Okay. The fact that I think this is the easiest thing ever. The fact that we're talking about this being a playable commander card, and you want to say you don't necessarily want to play Generous Gift or Beast with it.
Well, I'm talking about there's with like 17 other things within that slot. Like, there's no Fulminator Mage slot. You're kind of finding it in a politics slot.
You have to make up a fake slot for it.
I think it's pretty sweet. I mean, it's removal. It removes lands. It is some removal.
I'm not arguing with that. But land removal stinks. The only one we ever play is Strip Mine, and that's because it's in a freaking land slot.
There's a couple playable land removal spells.
What else?
Generous Gift.
Okay. That is because it hits everything. It just happens to hit land.
Okay, Spreading Seas is decent, and Cleansing Wildfire also good.
Okay, both of those don't actually remove lands.
They basically do. Cleansing Wildfire literally destroys a land. It destroys. It says destroy a land on it.
That's true. That's
true. Anyway, that aside, I have gotten more mileage out of this than I thought. Like, the gameplay is what actually sold. I wasn't sure about it. The gameplay is what ended up selling me on it.
Yeah, I think this card is just total butts. I think there's like 1 or 2 decks that have like 7 ways to reanimate it. Then it's decent.
I think it's pretty real. Like, it's not worth it to play Fulminator Mage and then just Stone Rain someone. I think that's terrible. But I think you end up getting possibly enough value over the course of a couple of turns of people not wanting to mess with you because you will just Stone Rain them. It's attack me with a 5/5, I'll chump Stone Rain you. I think it's kind of interesting.
Yeah, see, I hate this card. I think it is so bad. Like, honestly, it's a card that I would rate it, if we were doing our grades, I'd give it a D. Because you need so many reasons to play this card. So many. And I just don't even think... I don't think a deck I'll ever build will hit that many reasons.
My case is basically just, dang, this card plays way better than it looks.
Still stinks. Next, we have one that I like. It's Avenger of Zendikar. Everyone knows Avenger of Zendikar. I don't feel like reading all this text.
Plants.
Yeah, plants. You get plants. You get plants equal to your lands, and it puts counters whenever another land.
You just read the text.
I figured I got the what's the when you make something shorter? I give you the abridged version.
So much longer than if you just read it.
You know,
it's like when people are like, basically it's a 7 mana 5/5, and you make and they just read the exact card.
Yeah. So Avenger of Zendikar provides a lot of plants. Now this is immediately on ETB. So even if Avenger is answered, you're still going to have the plants equal to number of lands. This is obviously not an every deck card, but I think if you're going to have somewhere between 8 and 11 lands in play consistently in the game, this card is worth playing and good enough. Just make sure you have a way to pay off the plants without having Avenger in the field necessarily.
Yeah, fair. For me, like this is really similar to Fomori Nomad. It's like, this card stinks. This is just like, this feels like a product of like 2012 Commander, where it was one of the best things to do. I think if it was 7 mana, make 8 2/3s, I still just am not even that interested. This thing is the classic offender. It gums up your opening hand. It turns your 7 into a 6 real fast. You're never going to have it early. I mean, ramping into it also does very little unless you're actively cultivating and nature's luring. It's just not enough oomph for 7, which feels like a weird thing to say because it's so much power. But I just think it doesn't come close to closing the game, especially even if you untap with it. Let's say they're like 3/4s. That's pretty good. That's like a fetch land, 1 turn, and a regular land another turn. 7 3/4s is not going to close out a game. 11 3/4s is not going to close out a game. You're getting close. But you have to just untap with this too much, and it already costs 7. I'm just like, too much work.
I don't know. Once you
when
start
you have Crater of an 8, it's just a joke.
I mean, when you start attacking with 3/4s every single turn, like if you send 5 at somebody, that starts being really troublesome. That means they're going to start chump blocking. They're going to start losing a lot of life if they're using life as a resource, like a lot of decks do. They might be low already. I don't know. This card is just. Is this the best card in the world? No, but I think it has enough homes. The landfall decks, I think this still goes in. Like, it is good there.
I just think everyone at the table has so much time to react to this. It hurts you by not doing, it's this clunky late game card that you're never going to get any mileage out of early. It hurts you in the beginning of the game when you can't cast it. And when you can cast it, I think you leave the window is open for so long, and it's just not a fast enough closer when there's things like one more mana for Crater Hoof. I don't know how many closers you need, but maybe Finale of Devastation, more versatile card, that type of thing.
But I think you're just comparing.
Well, it's a finisher. This thing is only a finisher, right? It doesn't really do anything else.
I don't think it's a finisher. It doesn't have to be a finisher.
What the heck is it?
It provides a great board save for 7 mana. It's an army and a can. It comes with an army. It's 1 card. Get your own army. This is now I'm a threat because of 1 card. You don't have. I understand that if you're really high on like your 7 and 8 cards want to win, this isn't it. But not all your 7 and 8 cards have to win. They can just get you an awesome board state.
I feel like once I hit the 7, all I really need to play in maybe mid to high power is just, all right, here's my closer, here's my overrun, here's my thing, because I think there's enough armies in a can that are cheaper.
It's tough. Nothing provides you with this many bodies this quickly.
Yeah, but if all you want to do is pump them, I think you can. There's probably other ways to do it.
I mean, you play. I think something that's similar is. Like, you play Secure the Waste. I mean, I understand that instant speed is a little better in that case, but, Avenger comes with a 5/5 body and has a higher ceiling.
I feel like I might just rather have Secure the Waste. It depends on the deck. If you're like, I'm going to make tokens and then overrun them, I'd rather just have Secure the Waste.
All right, fair. Next is Gonti, Lord of Luxury. He is 2 black for a 2/3 with Death Touch. Enters the battlefield. Look at the top 4 cards from the opponent's library. Exile 1 face down. You can cast it without paying its mana cost. I think this is a card that I think is stronger than it looks. It is just a fancy draw card off their deck, but it's an impulse draw. You look at the top 4, and
it's impulse the card, not impulse the draw.
I realize that. It's impulse the card off of your opponent's deck, and it doesn't go to your hand. Instead, goes to exile face down. I think looking at the top 4, getting it, and this 2/3 Death Touch body makes it worth it. Now, if you can't reuse that body, or you can't do something with it, it's not good. I don't want to just throw this in the deck and be like, all right, 1 ETB, and I'm good. I want to flicker it. I want to reanimate it. I want to do whatever I can to get this trigger a couple of times in a game. That's why it's in my Amanatu deck, is because it is going to do it more than once. And I think that is worth it. I think it's on average better than just a 2-mana draw card guy. Like if you're playing, like, I play Wall of Omens in my.
Right. You're saying it's better than that.
I'm saying it's better on average than your Wall of Omens. Just draw one card.
It's tough. This does have, I will also add to your point, it does have defensive value. A Death Touch body matters at least some of the time when they're trying to attack you or you have a Planeswalker. Gonti, I think, is a little bit worse than it looks. So would I rather draw a card from my deck or my opponent's deck? Definitely my deck. I think it's undoubtedly better to draw a card from your own deck, at least power-wise. But then you get to look at the top 4. So I think that's comparable. Getting more selection off their deck, which you don't want, versus your own deck, just a random card. It's pretty close. It might be, the slightest of favors to Gonti. But now we're at 4 mana, a little bit better than a cantrip. And then now you have to flicker it to get a little bit better than a cantrip. I just think maybe I'll put Gonti's value at like 1.2 cards, like a 1.2, draw 1.2 cards. And I'm just, all right, I'd rather just cut the mana in half and draw 1 card.
See, I think I would say Gonti's bad if all decks are built the way BZ builds decks. Well, where everything is based super on synergy and everything is about wheel turning and everything costs 2-3 mana. But that's not how decks are built.
You can snag a Haymaker.
That's not I'm just saying that's not how decks are built, the average deck. The average deck, there are tons of good hits out of their deck. Sure. The top 4 is more than likely going to have something very good within it.
I don't know if it's more than likely.
Okay, more than likely to have something decent. It's going to have something at least decent to get.
Can Gonti play lands?
No.
No. So there is a whiff case.
There is whiff case.
Rare, but there is a whiff.
It's extremely rare. But I think the odds are... I can't even...
No, the odds are low.
The odds are extremely low. But regardless, I think that the top 4... Also, this has a random disruption factor where sometimes decks...
Rarely.
Sometimes decks have reliance on 1 or 2 cards. And if you hit one of those cards, it absolutely can be a huge disruption factor.
Like a Praetor's Grasp. But you like a get-lucky version of Praetor's Grasp.
Yeah, exactly. Something that's going to happen. I think that also... It's not that is all this card does, but it adds to the strength.
I think that's as rare as hitting 4 lands. I think those just cancel each other out.
I don't know. It's definitely not as rare.
I got his best card in his deck, or I hit 4 lands. I don't know. But
4 lands is way rarer.
Gonti, I just think, ends up being like a mediocre cantrip. You can hit some bangers off the top, but I don't never want to rely on that. Like, that's never the reason. Even Joe that's not the reason you're playing Gonti. Like, I'm gonna hit Expropriate.
Well, the reason I'm playing Gonti is I could hit Expropriate, and I can reuse it to potentially hit things like that over and over again. It's like I want to try and. Like, I understand drawing from... it's not like in the decks where I play Gonti, I don't have card draw.
Well, totally, yeah. I'll say the whiffs are more... They happen more than you think because of the synergy, derpy, dumb cards. Like, if I'm... Let's say I hit a green deck, and if I'm going to hit, or like a green-black deck, and I hit, like, spider spawning 2 lands and a Nature's Lore, that's a whiff, too.
All right, I'm going to start... is it worth it? Like, when I do Gonti... Did I get something worth getting? And
more than a card, more than 1.2 cards.
Well, yeah, but basically, is it better than drawing a random card off my deck?
Yeah.
I can determine that most likely.
That's true.
So I'll start doing that when I play Gonti.
And let us know how your Gontis go.
Yes. Next is Narset's Reversal. BZ, what does this one do?
All right, this is blue for a kind of counterspell. You copy an instant or sorcery, and then you return the original to its owner's hand. So you kind of like remand it, and instead of drawing a card, you just get the spell. This has the highest ceiling and the lowest floor. The lowest floor actually being this card's uncastable because the spell they're casting that you need to counter just isn't an instant or sorcery. Now, Joe's going to probably say this is bad. I'm higher on it than him this time. But I think this card's okay. I think it's like fine. It might be one of the top 10 that I go to, not including the free counter spells. That's where I'm at.
Yeah, I don't think this card is touchable anymore. I tried it. I gave it the chance. It came out. I was super high on it. I mean, I praised this card. And I was super high on it. Like, I said this card might be one of the best counterspells printed in the past, 5 years. But I just don't think that anymore. I'd rather play Negate in this slot every single time. It's not even close. I have had this card in my hand, and the non-creature spells flying around that I can't counter, or even creature spells that I can't counter. And it's like, dang, that's not good. And then it's just like, it's like there's an Ugin. It's like, wow, I could have counted that with Negate. And then sometimes it's like they cast like a Swords to Plowshare. It's like, well, that's not worth. Okay, putting it back to your hand doesn't do anything.
I don't want a Swords to Plowshares. I want to stop their Swords to Plowshares. But it's a 1-mana spell. So.
And then there's it's like, yeah, it's okay if you get like a Cultivate early in the game, but they're casting a Cultivate later in the game. You're sitting there going, this stinks too.
Yeah.
And there's just, I think there's too many bad spells being cast for you to want to bounce and counter that you're just not, that this card it falls flat on its face far too often for the high upside of hitting that Liliana's
Rise of the Dark Realms.
Rise of the Dark Realms, of hitting Rise of the Dark Realms. I think it falls so short of like doing that more often that I just don't want to touch it.
Yeah, maybe this is a meta call for those watching. I think it was overhyped. We were too high on it. I mean, what were we supposed to do? We didn't play it. We have retracted, and we're a little bit lower on it than we used to be. I'm not at unplayable yet, and I'm not at worse than negate. So I just think it's from okay to good.
I want to say 100%. I do think negate. You should put negate in your deck before Narset Reversal. I honestly believe that, and that's how bad this card has been for me in testing.
And we never play negate.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert.
I mean, I don't play negate. I don't put negates in my deck at all, and I will never put Narset Reversal in the deck again going forward, ever probably.
All right, number 11 here. We're almost to the end. Feed the Swarm. Joe, what does that do?
Feed the Swarm is 1 in the black for a sorcery. Destroy target creature or enchantment. You lose life equal to its mana value.
All right, this is the one you're higher on.
There's only two color combinations goes in mono black, Rakdos. I think that's literally it. But in those decks, I think it is worth playing. The only other answer in Rakdos you have is Chaos Whip to an enchantment, and you don't have any other answers to enchantments at all in mono black. It just doesn't exist. Now, am I thinking this card is like insane or broken? No, but I think because black plays some tutors, because you don't normally have a tutor or two in your deck, you have like an extra copy of this to potentially get. I want to be able to answer it. I want to be sure that I can answer an enchantment if the situation comes up where I have to. And you just can't 99% of the time if you don't have this card.
Yeah, I'm a bit lower on it. Feed the Swarm, if you're destroying a creature, this is like the most terrible rate. If this had destroy a creature at sorcery speed and I lose life and it's worse than like Doomblade, no, oh my God, never. So it just is a question of, hey, here's some bad black enchantment removal because the rate is bad. But it is black enchantment removal, which we don't really have. There's a few other corner cases. There's like a sack outlet in black that can destroy enchantments, and there's some colorless stuff that maybe you could do it. I don't know if you want to go there. I'm either too proud. If I'm wrong, I'm too proud to play this, and if I'm right, I just don't think it's worth just playing a bad spell. In the games where there's multiple enchantments, your hands are tied anyway. Like, all right, I get one. It's like sometimes you get 0. I'm wondering if the Blade Griff prototype, maybe I'd just rather play this. I don't know. There's so much more incentive for that card to hit, and that you can start hitting on enchantments that you don't want.
I think that card's bad.
I don't know. I mean, this card's bad too. It's just but it will destroy something right away.
But I'm
just not a huge fan of this. I don't think you need to do this.
The rate is way better. The 2 mana, and like a 2 mana kill a creature is not exactly where you want to be, but that's the floor, and it kind of gives you a fallback. Obviously, if this only hit enchantments, you'd be out. It's the versatility of like adding enchantment onto creature, and is enchantment relevant enough? Most of the time, no. But I think the problem is, and the reason I will put this card in deck is that they know what's still legal in this format: Rhystic Study, Necropotence, and Smothering Tide. These cards still exist in this format, and they're going to keep existing unless they get banned. So unless something changes and there aren't those insane win the game enchantments, I think I want this card.
I'm more on the just because you can doesn't mean you should, and just because black not being able to answer enchantments didn't make black unplayable, and now that it has one bad answer, I don't think it makes black that much better.
I don't think it makes black that much better, but I think this card is playable.
All right, that's where we're at.
Yeah, next is Elspeth, Sun's Champion, 6 mana, Planeswalker. Plus is to make 3 1/1s. Minus is to destroy everything with power 4 or greater. And then -7, you get an emblem with your creatures that +2/+2 and flying. I think this card is decent. It's so much like Avenger of Zendikar. I feel like this conversation is going to be very similar.
Repeat.
This doesn't go in every single deck, but I think that the decks that do want it, it can be super, super strong. And she protects herself well. Getting through 3 1/1s tends to be a lot harder than it looks. I always thought, when we talked about it in the past and we've talked low about it, they're like, yeah, everyone's going to get through. It's really, somebody sends 3, but turns out the board doesn't get as clogged in regular games of Commander when there's board wipes running around.
Yeah, all right. I'm a little lower on Elspeth. I think she's if we went A to F, I'm D. I wouldn't call it unplayable. I just think this card looks so much better than it actually plays out. The +1 for 3 is fine. You have to untap, and then you get basically 6 mana for 6 1/1s. And as long as you can get there, it's okay. There's plenty of cards that are similar rates to that, and I think that's what this is going to end up being most of the time. The -3 is so finicky and will not work in your favor all the time, or sometimes it just will be a disaster. So, and then in the ultimate, we can't pretend like we need to play Planeswalkers for the ultimate. So I don't even want to really talk about that, even though it is good. I don't think you're going to get there very often, and I don't think it matters that it's really on the card. It's just an okay rate for tokens, but it's the worst card type, and the -3 sometimes will be good, and it's hard to tell because there's just it's just a crapshoot of will this be good? I don't know.
So I think this is a good rate for tokens. You need to untap once to get the good rate, but it is a good rate for tokens once you do that. The minus is relevant, and it's a pretty good board wipe when you need it. This is not the main mode of the card. You need to care about these tokens. You need to do something with these tokens. That's definitely the important part of Elspeth Sun's Champion, is taking advantage of her tokens in some way. But as soon as you're doing that, everything else is gravy on the card. The minus is just there to help you out, and I honestly think that there are a decent number of them. Now, he's on D. I'm on C, so this is cuttable from most decks, but it definitely has enough homes that I'm willing to say this card is pretty good.
Yeah, I think you'll just be happier with, like, I don't think, increasing devotion is that good, but I think you might just be happier with that. You just get your tokens, you get your good rate that we're trying to get with Elspeth, you just get it a turn earlier, and then you can slam it overrun or something. You don't have to worry about pressure. You don't have to worry about people seeing you as, like, an extra mega threat because you have 5/1/1s. There's nothing to target. You just have the dudes, and now you can use them however you want.
Okay. What's the last one?
Last one is another me card. It's Hedron Archive. This is basically like Elspeth, where I'm on C, and I think Joe's on D or F or something. I think this card's playable. I don't think it's, like, busted, but it is nice to have, and I'm talking about mostly Boros or some niche heavy artifact decks, like colorless maybe.
Maybe one color deck sometimes. I can't. This is on a D- basically for me. 4-mana rocks are just not where you want to be. You want to ramp in 1, 2, and 3 slot. Like, that's where you want to be ramping. You want to be casting the spells, and I almost never want to go to 4. And if I do, I don't know. I can't even think of what I want. Thran Dynamo seems to be the one. I'd rather have Thran Dynamo over this, for sure. I'd rather have the extra 1 mana, and after I untap, it's up 2 mana. And that's not even great. Like, it's not like this big spot that I'm aiming to be. I don't know. Hedron Archive is just not even close. Colorless decks and maybe some 1-color decks.
See, I'm looking at... I'm kind of okay playing this in white, red, Boros, or colorless. Like, colorless, I think I'm slam playing this, snapping it off. And I think it's just, I'll give up 1 mana off Thran Dynamo to maybe play this instead and just have some more card draw that I wouldn't have access to otherwise. It's it's a tough spot finding card draw in, like, your mono red deck.
I don't know. This is just not something I want to go down to. Like, the funny thing is, like, this is the double Mind Stone, obviously.
Yeah, the double Mind Stone. Triple Mind Stone is awful, by the way.
Yeah.
Dreamstone Hedron.
Yeah, the double. I'm in for the Mind Stone. I mean, 100%. That card's amazing. Like, that's not even talk. We don't even need to talk about how good that is. 2 mana rocks are great. 4 mana. It's all it is. These 4 mana, and it comes down to produces the 2 mana right away. It's just not there. When at 4 mana, I want to play Sky Shard Claim where I can both fix mana colors.
Well, me too, but I'm not. I'm talking about Boros.
I know.
Boros decks.
I'd rather play any. I don't know. I can't do it. I mean, maybe I'm underestimating this card. I've never had to play it. I've played Boros decks. I still didn't go to this.
That's probably why you lost all the time.
Or because that deck was bad outside of that.
Okay, that is the video.
Yeah, special shout outs to every single one of our patrons. Love you all as much as we can without making you uncomfortable. You guys are chef's kiss.
Yeah, let us know. Give us the 1 through 13 rundown of who you think, who you side with, or if you side with nobody in the comments. That would be interesting. And then maybe we'll tally it up, see who won.
Me.
You know, all debates have a winner. That's how debates work. There's also a way to support the channel if you like us disagreeing with each other, because probably we can do this all day. Hate on Avenger of Zendikar. Description, link, TCG player. Buy your cards the way you normally would, except because you started with the link. We get a kickback on the order, free of charge for you. Just pay the normal order, and then boom. You're supporting the nerds.
Yes, you can also do that with our Dragon Shield link. They are our buddies, and they sell sleeves, the best sleeves in the multiverse. Go get them. I realized this when I was editing last time. When I say they're the best sleeves in the multiverse, it sounds like their slogan.
It sounds tacky.
It sounds like they're making us say that, but we just say it.
They are making us say nothing.
They aren't making us say anything. They're not even making us do the shout out. Actually,
I don't even know if they wanted it. They're getting it.
They're going to be sponsoring gameplay content and working with us, and we have an affiliate link. The shout out is just because we want you to buy. We think that this company is amazing, and they're willing to support us if we support them. So hey, this is like it's working together. It's scratching each other's back.
The fact that I would tell you to buy the Dragon Shields anyway means that, all right, let's have an affiliate link so they can go buy the sleeves that they should buy, but we get a couple extra dollars anyway. Yeah,
literally. Every deck of ours is just in that. We have a Discord. Head over to that Discord, and if you go there, you can add the Nitpicking Nerds. You can DM the Nitpicking Nerds. You can talk to people about the Nitpicking Nerds.
Yes, I will say expect slower replies than usual. I've replied to everybody, but expect slower replies just because this week we can move to the tidbit. Oh man, we're gonna be so busy.
Yeah, we got our location for gameplay. We're gonna be recording our first gameplay episode. Not sure how fast we'll be able to get it out. Hopefully, by December.
Not sure how fast we're going to be recording it. I'm going to get the keys Monday. Then we're going to try to move in the table, the chairs, and the decorations on the same day. Hopefully get everything set up. We'll still have to put out a short that day.
My goal is to record by Wednesday.
Dang. Well, we also have to get the people. We got to make sure that our 2 guests are free.
That'll be easy.
Okay, hopefully.
I think that'll be easy.
We got to make sure the mics work. I want to do a test. Maybe can we do a test recording Wednesday?
I
want to get a test done.
That's exactly what I meant.
Oh, we didn't say that.
Well, I meant do a recording. Yeah, and the first recording we need to do is a test recording.
All
right. Well, that's the end of our video. Peace out, Tribe Scout.